Hello and welcome to our new chapter, number 25 of Azure Support Academy, Hands On Labs Performance Series. In this new episode, number 1, we are going to talk what do I need to do in case that I have load rate governor wait time. My name is José Manuel Jurado. I am an escalation engineer working in Microsoft and subject matter expert in this technology. Well, but why we have this problem? Well, in theory, it's not a problem. We're reaching a limit of the load rate governor in order to insert the data in the transaction log. Everything depending on the the rates of the ingestion that you have in your workloads, or also depending this limitation of the service database tier. You could see in this URL, you could have more information about it. How is possible to identify that we have this log governor? Where we are going to run or to use the Azure portal and to review the metrics. We are going to the dynamics management view that is called DM resource stats, or we are going to see what are the queries that is causing this problem using Excel request. What are the best practice? Well, you could reduce the batches. You could, for example, if you want to maintain your same level of databases that you are using, for example, reduce if you are inserting a huge amount data like text, binary max, max checks, etc. Also, if there is not possible, of course, that you could move your database to business critical, premium, and hyperscale, because you are going to reduce the latency of the storage and you are going to have more load rate. Also, you could review if you are updating a lot of indexes to review if are needed. Of course, one other thing is to implement a more robust retry logic execution to retry the operation is weighted too much, or to add command timeouts, a higher command timeouts, etc. Or move your historical data to another database. For example, I don't need this the data from 3 or 5 years ago. I'm going to move this. I'm going to reduce also the amount of data that I'm updating, etc. Also, you could split the data, for example, using a vertical or horizontal partitioning. For example, creating one database per customer, depending of what is the business requirements in your environment. Well, in order to reproduce the load rate governor with the stats, basically, as we mentioned before, it's a load rate governor. It's when we reach some limitations in terms of inserting data in a transaction log, right? So for the reason in this example, I'm going to running multiple threads at the same time. I'm going to insert data in one specific table. I'm going to insert around between 1,000 and 20,000 characters at the same time. I'm going to try to insert the data. As I mentioned before, it's very important to have a very robust execution. So I'm going to run, if I go to here, I'm going to run the query. If I have any problems, I'm going to at least to try to retry the operation another time, etc. Like it's an example in this part, right? So I'm going to run the process. As you can see, I'm going to run, my machine has 8 vCores. I'm going to run with, I'm going to run 8 threads. I could multiply this. If I need, I could increase more the threads, but right now I'm going to do this one. This is the process ID and the demo. So we are going to, right now, this 8 threads is starting up. And right now, every thread is inserting, as I mentioned before, in this data in this query. So we are running multiple times in every thread. So what happened right now when we have this problem? Well, as you can see here, you could see that in the overview, the panel, that is increasing a lot one specific metric. Right now it's DTU because my database is using DTU, but it's the same if you're using bcore. Basically, in order to review what happened with my database, if you have or that you have the feeling that your database is not running well, basically the most important thing is to add 3 metrics. CPU in terms of average, try to use data.io in average, and also try to add another metric that is called log.io. So as you could see here, I'm going to, because at the end DTU is the maximum values of these 3 counters. In this case, I'm going to remove DTU and I'm going to work just only with these 3 counters. So as you can see here, right now I'm reaching the maximum or 80% of my database time to time. So right now, at least it seems that it's happening something, because if I review what happened, the CPU is 5%. If I use the data.io, it's 0. So right now, everything it's clear right now that my problem or the main workload that I have is with IO, with data.io. So for the reason I could run the same when you are using SQL Server Management Studio. Basically, you could run this one, and you could see, for example, right now that for this database, every 15 seconds, right now I have a huge load write percent. So that means that I reach in the maximum in terms of log. So I have 2 options: reduce, as I mentioned, reduce the batches, reduce the concurrency, reduce the data types that I'm using, or try to scale up to another database tier. So, but if I want to review what happened or what are the main requests, so if I run this query, you could see right now what happened. Right now, I have it's running. I running in 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 processors. So we have 8 threads running in my database. For the reason I have 8 connection to this database. This database is running something. Is running the insert command, as you can see here. But all of them right now is waiting for load rate governor or pay large, or normally it's a load rate governor. So that means that the situation that I have, it's clear that one of them is finishing, one or not, but I have right now time. And also it's very important that the time in terms of CPU is very low, but elapsed time is increasing depending on the blocking, depending of because at the end is blocking the process, because they need to wait until to have more resources in terms of late roll governor. For example, as I mentioned, sometimes could be the data that we're inserting. For the reason we have in our blog an article that is how to monitor the transaction log space in order to know how much is the data that I insert into my database in different requests that I have. For the reason, I'm going to copy and paste this query. I'm going to move this one here. As you can see here, I copied the query. If I run the query, as you can see here, you could see how much data in terms of bytes is inserting every time that I'm running this query, right? So for the reason, it's important to decide to review how much is the data, how many concurrencies that I have right now, what they are waiting for, the different log that I have, and also you could see here what is the main point in terms of consumer, right? So going back to the portal, as you can see right now, if I go back, as you can see, right now it's increasing 100% all the time. So it's clear that I need to scale up, scale down my database. So basically is this one. Other things that you could see is in the performance query insights. You could see right now that one query is taking all the resources in terms of log, as you can see here. If I click in this query, I'm going to see what are this query, or what is this query. I could review what happened, what is the main topics that I need to review, discuss with my DBA, etc. Okay, thank you so much for attending these sessions. If you have any questions, please send an email to gmjurado@microsoft.com.